G'day, Malcolm.
Good morning, Marcus. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm just having a little chuckle at the wankfest going on in the United States at the moment. I get that it's a momentous occasion. I understand every time a president's inaugurated that they have to get celebrities up there to sing songs and carry on. But for God's sake, enough's enough, surely.
Yeah, mate. I've travelled through all 50 American states. I've lived there for 5 years. I've studied at one of the top universities over there, and I've worked over there in 8 different states. And I love Americans. They're absolutely fabulous people. But they're different. In many ways, they look like us. They dress like us. They have similar habits. They're casual and informal like us. They love us.
Yeah.
But, mate, they just go over the top when it comes to celebrating things. It's just, for Australians, it's too much.
Well, you'd think that there's no issue with COVID-19. You'd think that America is all as, there's no social inequality. You'd think that there's no civil unrest. It's all, I don't know. Look, I'm seeing right now the presidential motorcade with the military escorting Joe Biden back to the White House. The bloke looks like he needs a good lie down.
Yeah, it's a contradiction in America. Wherever I went, you can see contradictions.
Yeah.
And, you can get a very energetic country like America, but there are so many inequalities as well. But there's one thing that's very strong in Americans, and that's their love of their country and their passion for freedom. And so I think there'll be a lot of Americans holding their breath right now.
All right, mate. Now, you're on the road driving down the New South Wales coast. You're around Singleton, are you?
Yes, and what a beautiful day it is. I used to live in Singleton.
Okay.
Worked here several times, but it's a glorious day and blue sky. We've just driven up the valley from Singleton. We're now in Muswellbrook, and we went past Bayswater and Liddell Power Station. It's just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, nice. Now, the federal government's so-called industrial relations reforms, you've had a fair bit to say about that ahead of Senate estimates hearings in March.
Well, they're going to try and bring in the legislation into the Senate fairly soon. There's an inquiry at the moment, but we've had a good look at it, and we've still got a lot more work to do on it. But, Marcus, our aims are always to protect honest workers, to protect small business, and in this case, to restore productive capacity. The government is really just playing at this. It's not addressing energy. It's not addressing tax. It's not addressing infrastructure. It's not addressing over-regulation. It's still making life hard for people. It's not a real reform at all. It's just tinkering to look after its mates. And the overriding thing with this so-called industrial relations reform, it's not reform, it's tinkering with the deck chairs in the Titanic, is that their aim seems to be to not upset anyone and to try and please everyone. And whenever you do that, Marcus, you're coming out of fear.
Yes.
And so they're afraid, and that means the country will suffer. These regulations, they don't simplify, and small business badly needs that. The key aspect of this supposed reform from the Prime Minister is to get jobs, mate.
Yeah.
But it won't get any jobs. It's just going to make things more complex. There are some positives in there, but there are overwhelmingly a lot of negatives. We're just going to have to do a lot of work on this.
All right. Now, obviously on this trip down the coast, you've been catching up with people who've have reached out to you, made contact. What are you hearing on the ground?
Well, first of all, I've got to say how beautiful the country is on the coast coming south down through New South Wales. It's just green. It's glorious.
Yeah.
And people... I've heard from small business, for example, a guy who runs... Well, I won't tell you his business because it's a boutique business and I don't want anyone to come back on him. But he was really talking about how difficult life is under state, federal and local governments because they're making things complex.
Absolutely. Could you imagine all that bloody red tape a business owner has to go through these days? It's just... It's almost...
Right. Marcus, he was telling me things like you get a permit from the state government to do something, and then by the time you've finished dealing with regulations for the local government, the state government permits have expired and you've got to get it again. And that means more fees. And he was talking about $20,000, $30,000, I think $50,000, $45,000 in one case, just to get consultants in to do the work for the local government. You can't afford that.
No.
But one good piece of news, we visited a workshop here a fairly large workshop here in Rutherford, which is near Maitland, and they're telling us they do a lot of work for agriculture and mining machinery, and they're telling us that the price of coal has gone up quite a bit, and They're hiring again, which is good for the Valley. And it's really good for the whole Hunter Valley in Newcastle, because most people don't realise this, but for every job in the coal mine, there are 6 other jobs depending upon those jobs. And so the price of coal and the use of coal is extremely important to everyone in New South Wales.
Well, look, you've got a bloke up there in the Hunter who is making a fair bit of noise. I'm sure he's scaring the pants off of Joel Fitzgibbon. But I don't know, if things are looking okay or a little better up there in the Hunter, maybe Joel might hold on a little bit.
Well, the problem with Joel is that his party won't let him do things. His party has got their foot on the throat of the coal industry, and they're determined to kill the coal industry. I mean, some of the senior people in the Labor Party have admitted that and said that is what they want to do, and it's insane. One of the things I did coming down the New South Wales coast, I'm doing a bit of research in southern New South Wales in the next couple of days, and I stopped in Port Macquarie and worked for a day and a half with an absolutely astounding scientist there who's been going through the Bureau of Meteorology records.
Right.
And, mate, the records are just so shoddy. And he's done advanced statistical analysis once he's removed all the deliberate movements or adjustments, and there's no warming at all going on. So this whole thing about coal is just a beat-up.
Yep. All right. Now, well, just on coal, of course, the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, he's had a lot to say. He's been. Oh, by the way, when you visit these places, do you don on your high-vis shirt and do you untuck the top of the collar just to show a little bit of chest hair, look all macho and like you're in the moment? And do you have your professional photographer tailing your every move for a photo op, Malcolm? I'm just wondering.
No, that's not me.
Okay.
What I'm doing is I'm driving by myself. This morning I've got one of my staff with me, but I've been driving down the coast on my own. I make all my own arrangements. I take my own notes. I just listen to people, because you can't listen to people through others. You've got to listen by, first-hand, direct.
Fair enough.
So, no, I don't go for all that crap.
Well said. All right, mate. Listen, we've got a listener, Gail Thornton, who follows the program. We want you to say hello. Can you just do me a favour? Say, "G'day, Gail. Hope you're having a wonderful morning." Just say that for me.
G'day, Gail. Hope you're having a great morning.
See, Gail says on our Facebook page, and I have to tell you, you get a little bit of hate on our social media. Mind you, I get a lot of hate on my social media as well. That's just what it's all about. But your posts, and when we reshare things that, you and I have a chat about a certain issue, it's one of the, it's what I don't get. This is the hypocrisy with it all. And on this program, we'll speak to anybody, Labor, Liberal, Calathumbian, we have Pauline, yourself, and also Mark Latham. So we listen to all sides. We try to as much as we can. We would love to have the Prime Minister or the Premier on here, but they don't even know we exist, or they probably know we exist, but their media people don't want them to come on because they're probably upset that first question to the Premier would be, when are you going to resign? And the second question to the Prime Minister would be, do you take any responsibility for robo-debt? And what about the thousands of people that have possibly taken their lives? So that's why they don't come on. But your stuff that we talk about is well received. You got to have your haters for those to really like you, Malcolm. But Gail says there's no way that we will listen to anything Malcolm Roberts has to say. So I just wanted you to say good morning to Gail. She's one of your biggest fans, I think.
Well, tell her that I'd be very happy to meet her, and I look forward to her giving me evidence that contradicts my arguments.
Well, that's it. Good on you, mate. Always great to catch up. Drive safely. You can't drop by and visit us, I hear.
Not this time. I was wanting to do that, and I've got two outstanding retired people in Sydney that I want to meet, because they're both very, very good on water.
Yeah.
And that's a critical issue for us. But I was hoping to drop in. But if I go anywhere near Sydney, then, mate, I've got to lock up in quarantine in Brisbane when I go back. So even if
Brisbane,
I just don't get out of the car, I've just got to lock up. So I'm going to drive through Mudgee and then that way down through Bathurst and down to Canberra that way. So it's an extra drive, but hey, that's the way it has to do.
We're broadcasting out into those regions right now, and it's pretty good out there as well. You reckon it's green on the coast? You should see it inland. It's just gorgeous around 2MG, Mudgee area, and out to Bathurst to our station 2BS, and out to Orange 2EL. You'll love it out there, mate. Look after yourself.
Thanks, Marcus. We've got to look after this country and stop the wombats ruining it, the wombats in Canberra.
All right, mate. Bye-bye. Malcolm Roberts, Marcus Paul in the morning.